Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of the ODEN Opinion. I am Livingston and we are going to be discussing all kinds of topics ranging from movies, television, entertainment. Maybe I'll even discuss things about books as well. I'm not even sure. It's been a while since I've read a book, but I should probably sit down and read more. Anyways, let's discuss some of the topics we're going to be talking about today. And we are going to be kicking off things with Predator Badlands. Looking forward to talking about that topic. It made a heck of a lot of money at the box office this past weekend. We are also going to be discussing sequels and remakes. Should we keep going on with making sequels and remakes? Is it the main thing that Hollywood is talking about and doing currently in today's realm of movie making and television shows? We are also going to be talking about the 2026 list of movies that Rotten Tomato has as the most anticipated films of the year. We're going to be talking about whether or not I am anticipating it or not. We'll see. And we are also going to be talking about the movie of the week, something that I'm going to be doing every week, and discussing a movie that I found to be enjoyable that you might have missed on your list of films that you should probably put on. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to continue on watching all the fun content that we have on this channel. Now, let's jump into our first topic, which is Predator Badlands. It came out this past weekend, and it made over $40 million when people actually predicted it would only make $25 million. Kind of crazy that it actually beat it by $15 million. Word of mouth seemed to actually get people's butts in seats this past weekend at the theater, so it was really good to see. And it actually beat the record for biggest opening weekend in the Predator franchise. 2004's Alien vs. Predator actually held that title until this past weekend, beating it by $2 million. So good to see Predator Badlands is on the map, and we're actually moving forward with this franchise, hopefully seeing a sequel to this film, which I do think it actually deserves. It's something different in the Predator lore, the Predator universe, I should say the Alien and Predator universe that we have currently going on right now, because we have a lot of crossing over in both of the franchises with Alien Romulus, Alien Earth, Predator Badlands, and Prey. We had a lot of stuff going on in this franchise, and I believe it's all working up to an Alien versus Predator remake that I'm actually looking forward to, even though I know in the near future I'm going to be discussing something about remakes and sequels that might kind of contradict what I'm saying now, but there are circumstances where I will let that slide, where I do believe a sequel or a prequel or a actual film based on a remake would be something interesting to see, but it's in certain cases. With all that being said, though, Predator Badlands is something going very worth watching in the movie theater. I implore anybody, go and see it. I think Trachtenberg, who actually directed this movie, did a wonderful job. He's had his hands on Prey. He's also had his hands on the Hulu film. If you haven't watched it, it's an animated movie called Predator Killer of Killers. It's also something that's very awesome. Check it out. I believe every one of his movies has built out the lore of Predator in a lot of ways. I believe Predator, Predator 2, and of course, Predators are all sort of the same film in a lot of ways. The first Predator is original. It's something that we haven't really seen before on the big screen. And in 1987, we got to see something that was awesome. And Arnold is at his best, at his finest in 1987. And I am looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with the universe moving forward, whether it's going to be following this character that we have now in the Predator franchise and Predator Badlands, or if we're going to be following different storylines going forward, or if we're actually leading up to an Alien versus Predator movie at some point with the main character from Predator Badlands. I don't know. There's a lot that we can kind of talk about and predict until we get to that point, but I believe everybody needs to go out and watch Predator Badlands. It's definitely worth checking out, and I'm looking forward to more moving forward. Now, let me know comment below what are your thoughts of Predator Badlands? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? I would like to know your thoughts, and are you looking forward to a sequel to this movie? Now, our next topic is number 2. Should Hollywood get away from reboots and remakes? I ask this because a lot of big movie Hollywood tentpole films seem to revolve around reboots and remakes. I've had a discussion with a lot of people discussing this, and of course, all of them are saying there's a lot of originality out there. Oh, yeah, there is a lot of original films coming out today, but I believe a lot of them basically come out from indie projects, not from the actual Hollywood system or the big tentpole studios that are currently making our projects. Now, if we look at 1985, we had movies, original movies, made up 82% of Hollywood wide releases between 1980 and 1985. And this is original versus non original. 18% were non original movies, which were sequels, remakes, and reboots. That's a very small percentage, something I very much appreciated back in the 80s, and why the 80s is probably one of my favorite decades in terms of movies. It's got a lot of my favorites like Raiders of the Lost Ark, Back to the Future, E.T. I mean, we had Gremlins. Now we're having a lot of things change a little bit. And look at the pie chart that I currently have for 2020 to 2024. If you look at original movies, it only makes up 22%. Now, if you look at non-original sequels plus remakes plus reboots, 78% of the market is made up of those movies. That's kind of crazy in my eyes, and I believe that needs to change in our system. A lot of the big tentpole rely on IP. I understand that. It's something that's reliable, we can fall back on. It's something that was guaranteed a profit, so that's why they all fall back on it. It's guaranteed checks in the pocket. Not all the time, but most times it could lead to a lot of financial growth in their company. And that's awesome. But I believe new IP is also something that they need to look into. It's something that we all actually should strive to get in our content more so. When it comes to television, I believe there is a lot of original content coming out in TV. Movies from the big studios, not as much. And it kind of proves it right here when you look at these pie charts. It's kind of hard to disqualify when you see the evidence of it. And I would love to see the percentages change, or maybe it's more of a 50-50 chance at some point, but I believe maybe we're in that roller coaster where we're at that peak and we're going, "Oh crap, what are we going to do?" We should probably ride that roller coaster down and go back to some more originality when it comes to putting in bigger budgets to some films that we would love to see pop up on the screen, like, say, Jurassic Park, or other films like Independence Day. And there was a lot of big bang for our buck when it came to movies back in the 80s and 90s, due to the fact that we never seen a lot of the things that were shown in those decades. It was the first time we got to see a dinosaur in that way in 1993. Before that, it was just claymation. It looked a little weird. It was a little spotty. Still entertained the hell out of us, but we started seeing that was a little janky in comparison to the CGI that was brought on board in 1993. We never seen liquid metal person, be shot up in Terminator 2 Judgment Day in 1991, which was a movie that was basically started up in the abyss with that water uh, worm thing that was kind of going around in the ship, that you probably know what I'm talking about, where it was that alien way of kind of talking to the humans inside an air-filled bubble. But you got to see technology evolve and move along, and now we are just uh, not as, I guess, starstruck by it. We're not taken by what we see on cinemas. We kind of take it for granted somewhat. And I believe a lot of the stuff we have now, we kind of rely on the technology of it, or the IP of the stories being told in today's cinemas. Now, there is a lot of original content made out there. The problem is there isn't as much original content made in the big studio tent pole films that we have currently in comparison to when I was a kid. When you look at the 80s and 90s, every time I went to the movie theater, we were getting something new, grand, massive, grandiose, a different story, a different time, a different place, something we've never seen before, which is what made Star Wars so, my God, I can't believe it, which is what makes Avatar so wonderful, which is what makes Marvel blow up so massively, because they were new and something different at the time. Now we're getting, like, what, our 40th Marvel film, our 100th superhero film. I believe that the market is probably a little saturated when it comes to those sorts of stories now, and it's not as big and not as grand as it used to be in comparison to 2012 when the Avengers came out. But of course, we had the Avengers Endgame come out, and we're getting ready to have Avengers Doomsday. Um, Hopefully it'll be one of the biggest films of all time. I'm really looking forward to the Avengers movies, but what I'm trying to say is, why are we always diving back into the same ponds and getting out the same stories when there's a lot of original scripts, original novels, a lot of original stories being told out there that a lot of the big studio films just aren't bringing to the table as much as they used to back in the day. And as the pie charts have shown, there has been a massive flip in the last 40 years compared to what we got then compared to now. The originality has just flown out the window. And I would love to see Hollywood dive more into those original scripts that they used to do way back when we used to get movies like Back to the Future, like Jaws, like The Mummy, which came out in 1999, was also a remake, but it was a different spin. That's when I like to see movies remade, is when they can give me a different perspective of what was already told. It's like seeing Predator Badlands compared to the original Predator. If you look at Predator and look at Predator Badlands, they're two completely different films. They're not the same storyline whatsoever, which is something that we continually get in today's films and cinemas. And I think the producers, directors, the people who are running these studios need to actually step back and go, you know what? Maybe we need to try some different IP like they did back in the early 2010s, like The Hunger Games when they had that movie come out. But I also believe that taking risks can get you a very high reward. Of course, it can be very costly as well. But that's something else that the Hollywood system needs to work out, trying to make things on a lower budget. When you look at properties like Avengers, making profits, of course, of in the billions, but of course, you have to make a movie for over $500 million. No, you don't have to. It's something that they just do because those movies are just slap filled with all kinds of technology, the actors and actresses that they use up in the dozens of the massive A-listers that we see in movies today that are ranging between $5 to $20 million a picture. I mean, these people make ridiculous amounts of money, but you can see at some point that you probably would be a whole lot easier and a lot better for yourself if you went back to original IP and getting new actors that don't need or call for a $5 to $10 million paycheck. That's just my thoughts on it, but you go and do what you want to do, I guess, studio executives and us people out here on YouTube will just keep saying what you probably need to do. And I think it's the right move, making things for cheaper and maybe sticking more of your quality into the story rather than the talent that are acting in it and getting more originality into your audience's movie theaters. That's something that they would probably prefer more so. Now let's move on to our next topic, which is my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2026. And this is a list that I based on an article that I wrote on Rotten Tomatoes called The Most Anticipated Movies of 2026. And it was written by Amrita Vora. And they made a massive list, basically going through every movie every month. And I thought I would go through that list and see exactly what movies I am really looking forward to. So I thought, top 10, let's do it. And the top 10 starts with number 10, Greenland 2, Migration, a movie I'm really looking forward to. Lionsgate has officially slated Greenland 2 Migration for release on January 9th, 2026, marking the return of Gerard Butler and Moran Baccarin. The post-apocalyptic survival saga, directed by Rick Romanwa and written by Mitchell LaFortune and Chris Sparling. The sequel picks up after the events of the 2020 hit Greenland, which followed the Garrity family's desperate race to shelter as a comet threatened to wipe out life on Earth. In Migration, we follow the family as they emerge from their bunker in Greenland to navigate a devastated world in search of a new home. I'm looking forward to this just because it's a good movie. The first movie is a very wonderful tale of somebody trying to just survive with their family and get to Greenland, whereas there is this massive bunker that will protect everybody from doomsday. What we typically don't see are movies that take place after those events, and it's going to be interesting to see something that is post-apocalyptic for a change, that is a sequel to something that was pre-apocalyptic. We typically don't see that in sequels in movies. Name me anything down below that you can think of that we saw a movie that took place in something that was before the apocalypse, and then something that took out after the fact would be, after the apocalypse. I would like to know your thoughts. But I'm looking forward to this movie and seeing where the Garrity family is now. But that's my number 10. Number 9 is Send Help, is an upcoming directed by Sam Raimi movie known for directing his hits such as Drag Me to Hell and the Evil Dead series. The film stars Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien as two colleagues who become the sole survivors of a plane crash and are stranded on a deserted island. They must navigate their strained relationship and work together to survive. I didn't know what to think about this movie. I heard about it. I love Sam Raimi and all of his movies that he's come out with. But when it comes to this movie, I'm like, it sounds kind of whatever. I saw the trailer for it. I'm like, oh, I want to see this movie. It looks interesting. It looks unique. It looks like a different thing that I've not seen before. And maybe some people might think of this as like something they would daydream in the office if ever they have an asshole for a boss. But it looks like a movie I really want to check out. My number 8 is Project Hail Mary. It's another high stakes sci fi adaptation. It is headed to the big screen this time from best selling author Andy Weir. Project Hail Mary stars Ryan Gosling and Ryland Grace, an astronaut who wakes up alone on a space station with no memory of who he is or why he's there. As fragments of his memory return, he discovers he's on a mission to the Tau Ceti solar system to stop a cosmic event that has already pushed Earth into the early stages of a new ice age. The film is directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. I am looking forward to this mostly due to the fact that it looks like an interesting original take of something that is makes me want to read the book. I've heard a lot of good things about the book. I've heard that it's an interesting story that needed to be made into a movie. I heard that before I even heard that there was going to be a film. I just think this is an interesting project, and I'm a fan of Ryan Gosling as well as Phil Lord and Chris Miller. They do awesome job at directing. Now, my number 7 might be a little out there, and some of you might go, "What? Really? That's number 7? Why would you put that up there on your list of top 10 most anticipated films of 2026? Why would you do that, Livingston?" Well, I will tell you why. It's because they moved it to a summer release. It was supposed to be already out in theaters. It was supposed to be on our television screens possibly by this point, but for some reason they decided to hold off and make it into a summer blockbuster film. Why? I'm not exactly sure. I think it might have been a bad move. We'll see what it actually does in the future, but there could have been an awesome movie in the theaters in October, and that's probably why we have a movie weekend this past October ended up being the worst weekend in the last 30 years of cinema. Kind of crazy. Wasn't much going on at the box office. It probably would have been a perfect time to release Mortal Kombat 2. And why it's on my list, it's because I loved the first movie that came out in 1995. I enjoy the fact that the game was very much a part of my childhood. I was one of the first kids back in the 90s to play the game. I know the blood code still, ABACABB. Look it up. I know it. And then when it comes to the actual trailer, it really just got me amped for it. Plus, they had the Mortal Kombat music that came out. Of course, I'm looking forward to that. Uh, and when they moved that movie to a summer blockbuster, it makes you go, maybe they have something behind it. Maybe they really believe in this movie and they wanted it to actually compete as a summer blockbuster. I'm not exactly sure why. I think business wise, it would have been better just to stick around the same slate that they had before. But oh well, now it's on a different plane and we're going to have to wait a little longer. And not last but not least, it's Carl Urban as Johnny Cage. That's going to be interesting. Plus, it looks like he's going to be followed as the main character of the story. So that's why it's my number 7 most anticipated movie of 2026. Now, moving on to number 6, it's a movie I haven't really seen a trailer to. I don't know why it's even uh really be I mean, I understand why it's being made, but I just don't know how they're going to make it a reality, and I hope they can really pull it off in the end. But my number 6 is Masters of the Universe. After nearly 40 years, He-Man returns to the big screen in a new adaptation of Masters of the Universe. It stars Nicholas Galitzine, who stars in red, white, and royal blue. He is going to be Prince Adam, who is marooned on Earth at age 10 and separated from his magical sword. As a grown-up, he fulfills his destiny as He-Man and battles for the fate of his home planet Eternia. The all-star cast includes Camila Mendez, Alison Brie, Idris Elba, and Jared Leto as He-Man's known as Skeletor. I'm looking forward to this because it's freaking Masters of the Universe. I love the cartoon back in the day. I used to watch it. The actual movies that was made by Canon Films back in the 80s starring Dolph Lundgren and what's her name? The Friends. She plays Monica Geller. Oh dear, I can't remember her name right now. But yeah, she was also an Ace Ventura Pet Detective For some reason, her name completely escapes me. But I'm looking forward to this Masters of the Universe movie because of what it could potentially be. I mean, it could be like a mixture of like futuristic technology with like a Lord of the Rings feel, and you might have something special here, but I'm not exactly sure until I actually see a trailer for what's to come. And I just don't know what to get into, whether or not it's going to be a good movie or whether or not it's going to be something that's going to like really grab me when I see the trailers. But I'm holding out for hope, and that's why it's number 6 on my list. Number 5, Spider-Man Brand New Day. Just 2 weeks after appearing in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, Tom Holland is set to reprise his role as another famous literary character in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Peter Parker's next adventure will be penned by the No Way Home screenwriters Eric Summers and Chris McKenna, with Shang-Chi director Destin Daniel Cretton as at the helm. It's unknown whether Zendaya and Jacob Batalon are involved, but it's speculated that Tom Holland might make an appearance in Avengers Doomsday earlier in the year. I'm looking forward to Spider-Man Brand New Day, mostly due to the fact that Spider-Man is now going to be what we see in the comics. He's not going to have any technology to back up who he is. He's just going to be his brains and his bronze, as well as his know-how to know exactly what's going to take to be a superhero. And he's had a lot of help, and he's been handheld the majority of the time in the first trilogy with Tony Stark technology. I like to see Spider-Man without all that, and we're going to actually finally get that in Brand New Day, with some help from Avengers as well as the Punisher. So I am really looking forward to the fact that we're getting something different in the Spider-Man universe, and whether or not this is going to kick off a new trilogy, we'll see. But I believe Tom Holland is safe as Spider-Man for the foreseeable future. I'm also looking forward to, due to the fact that we have some people behind the cameras that I think do great work. You have the director of Shang-Chi. That was a great movie. Loved it. Looking forward to seeing what he's going to bring to the table as a director for this movie, as well as the screenwriters for the original movie, not the original movie, but No Way Home. That was a great movie. Enjoyed the writing of it and everything that happened in that film. So with that team of writers and directors going on there, I think this is going to be a good movie, and it's a safe bet to say that this is going to be a hit at the theaters. Number 4 is actually another Marvel film. Avengers Doomsday is at number 4. I know a lot of you is going, what the hell? Why is it not at number 1? It's not at number 1 due to the fact that I don't know what we're getting into yet. I know what we're getting when it comes to the actors. Most of the Avengers are coming back. We have Robert Downey Jr. coming back into the Marvel fold, but he's coming back as Doctor Doom, Doomsday himself. Whether or not that's going to be a good move or not is yet to be seen, but I believe it's going to be a good movie nonetheless. Why it's at number 4 is because of the team we have behind it. We have the original people from Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, the people who did Avengers Civil War, people who also did not Avengers Civil War, felt like Avengers Civil War, but it was Captain America Civil War and Captain America the Winter Soldier, which is probably still in my top 3 Avengers movies all time, if not the number 1 movie of all time in the MCU, in my opinion. I mean, it's always number 1, number 2, kind of takes spots back and forth, but I just think they do a great job when it comes to Marvel, the MCU, and I hope this is just as good as those movies, and that's why it's number 4 on my list without seeing a trailer. Number 3 is a movie that I didn't really see coming. I didn't really think I'd ever see a movie based on this particular character from the DC universe, and it's Clayface, Batman's foe from Gotham City itself. I don't know what's going to be talking about, like Daggett, and if it's going to be following that storyline where basically this character Daggett kind of puts his formula into this person who wants this facial cream where you put this cream on your face and it makes your face into, what it used to be because he was scarred up. And all of a sudden he just gets so greedy with it that he wants that cream. And this guy Daggett is kind of a mafia boss, and he ends up getting taken out by having this stuff thrown down this guy's throat, and he turns into the character of Clayface, this monstrous foe that can basically manipulate his body into anything, weapons, into different people. He's just the ultimate bad guy in terms of disguise and in terms of weaponry. He's unstoppable, but turns out he's like the Wicked Witch, and water is his biggest foe. But spoiler alert for anybody who didn't know what Clayface was all about. But anyways, after making an appearance in the animated Harley Quinn and Creature Commando series, the iconic Batman villain Clayface returns to screens in his own live-action film. The film has been classified as a horror thriller tragedy by producers Matt Reeves and Lynn Harris. While plot and cast details have not been revealed yet, it will be directed by James Watkins, whose experience in dark thrillers like Eden Like and Speak No Evil should serve him well here. This kind of brings to mind the movie Dark Man, starring Liam Neeson and directed by Sam Raimi. It's something that's tragic. It's where he's thrusted into this dark superhero, supervillain take. And I really like that feeling of it. I'm kind of curious where they're going to go with his character. And I'm kind of hearing that it's going to be like a body horror sort of situation. So it might be rated R, Clayface, DC. Takes place in the DC universe with Superman and everything. And I'm kind of curious if maybe Batman might make an appearance. Who knows? Number 2, Dune Messiah. Denis Villeneuve's Dune Messiah will follow Paul Atreides as the Padadesh emperor and the effects of his rule on his people. The book by Frank Herbert is set 12 years after Dune, and it can be assumed that the film will also involve a fast forward from its predecessor. While the cast has not been confirmed yet, we can reasonably assume Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya will reprise their roles, along with Anya Taylor-Joy and Florence Pugh. Now, why this is number 2 on my list is because I really love Dune and Dune 2. I just thought that was just wonderful filmmaking all over the place. The directing, the acting, the set decorating, the score by Hans Zimmer. I mean, it was just all great, and I just can't believe what they did with the books, what they did with that story, and how they just made it this epic tale that I'm really looking forward to seeing the continuation of. I'm not sure how I feel about it being based on Dune Messiah, the book, because that is very just like it goes a different direction. It goes somewhere different. It becomes something I don't know that I would really enjoy if they based everything primarily on the book. And I hope that Denny takes that book and makes it into something different and something that's more palpable that I think he is very capable of doing because everything he seems to touch ends up becoming some masterpiece of filmmaking. So I am believing that it's in very good hands. Now, my number 1 most anticipated movie of 2026 is a classic. When I say classic, it's the classic of the classics. It is The Odyssey from Homer. If you don't know who that is, if you don't know what The Odyssey is, maybe go into your history books and take a look. It's thousands of years old. That's how old the story is. And it's one that hasn't been told a whole lot over the years, but there is stories that in movies and other things that are based on it, like, say, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou came out in 2000. George Clooney, Blake Nelson, John Turturro, John Goodman, directed by the Coen brothers. If you haven't seen it, it's a great movie, but it's not like a true Odyssey tale, other than the fact that they follow a lot of the same beats and have a lot of the same elements from those stories. The actual Odyssey tale was told, I think, last in 1997 in full. It was based on the Odyssey, and it starred Amanda Sante, Hallmark Hall of Fame miniseries that came out way back when, and it like took place over 2 nights. It was, for me as a kid, I was 13 years old at the time, definitely enjoyed it, and I loved the story, and I fell in love with the story by that telling of it on Hallmark. And that was back when Hallmark was actually something enjoyable, and I mean, I'm not saying it's not enjoyable now, but it's more like, I don't know, storytelling that isn't based on like the romances of Christmas and stuff. Like it seems like that's what a lot of Hallmark things are now. Christmas movies, Hallmark Hall of Fame. You have the murder mystery, but they're all like love stories. But anyways, I digress. The Odyssey, though, I'm looking forward to it. It's from Academy Award winner Christopher Nolan, who follows up Oppenheimer with this adaptation of Homer's The Odyssey, which tells the story of Odysseus, played by Matt Damon, in the aftermath of the Trojan War. The film's massive star-studded ensemble includes Robert Pattinson, Zendaya, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Mia Goth, Charlize Theron, and more. It's a stacked cast. And if you really think about it, it could be basically a sequel to the movie Troy. If you didn't know that, that's also in history, where Troy is the first part of the Odyssey in a lot of ways, like the end battle. And you have Odysseus, who is leaving, played by Sean Bean in that movie. And he leaves, and it takes him 20 years to get back home. and it's a tale of him trying just to get back home to his wife, to a kingdom that's been taken over by a bunch of I was gonna say dicks, but jerks. Jicks and dicks. Jerks and dicks became jicks. Anyways, but there was a movie that came out, I think, last year, and it's based on only the last portion of the story is when Odysseus gets home. And if you want to look, check that out with Ray Fiennes and Julian Binoche. That's a great movie. It's called The Return. Look it up. Anyways, that's my list. Let me know, comment below what you thought of it. I'd like to know your take of it. Now, let's move on to our next segment, which is my movie of the week, basically. And my movie of the week is a movie called Bolt from the Blue. Now, if you have no idea what Bolt from the Blue is, I'm not going to jump down your throats about it because I had no idea what the movie was about until a few days ago. I was going through Amazon Prime and came across this movie directed by Jack Martin. It's a movie about an overlooked engineer who is sent to Alaska to scope out an eccentric scientist's claim that capturing lightning can be a new source of renewable energy. It stars Matt Walsh, Kate Flannery, and Katie Baker. I think it's a fun movie. It's a family-oriented film, so if you have kids, I think everybody should sit down and check this movie out. It definitely has a lot of comedic parts to it. It has a little bit of an old school vibe as well when it comes to the way they did the filmmaking and the way they do their jokes and the editing. And if anybody is looking for a movie and you don't have anything else to watch, I think everybody should sit down and check out Bolt from the Blue. Now, this is a low-budget indie film, and I do believe they did a wonderful job in making this movie, and it goes to show that you don't need a massive budget to make a story that is compelling and really grabs you and takes you in to make you believe, like, "Hey, this is a story that's worth watching." And I think Bolt from the Blue is something that will definitely entertain everybody who sits down and actually wants to check out a wonderful family tale that, kept me intrigued and definitely made me laugh and chuckle and filled my time with something that was entertaining. Anyways, let me know, comment below if you've seen Bolt from the Blue, or if you do actually get to check it out. I'd like to know your thoughts and if you actually enjoyed it. With all that being said, thanks for checking out my first episode for the Odin Opinion, and I will be back next Monday with another episode. Look out for me then. Until next time, see you later.